Welcome to the Academagia, the Making of Mages introductory video tutorial. I'll be talking you through the opening steps of the game, including character creation and your first in-game actions. After that, though, I will leave you to explore the nearly boundless options available to you in the game. We'll be following along with the manual, so you can reference that if you need to get clarification on anything, and at a few points I'll recommend you review the manual for some more in-depth information that won't be covered in this video tutorial. And with that, we begin. As you start up the game, you'll see a series of questions. At the top of the list is, do you start a new game? If you have a taste for adventure, good times, and all the finer things in life, the thing to do is click on the small arrow immediately to the questions left. Now, if you follow the cursor and notice these red little circles that pop up, that will highlight for you where I'm clicking in the game and give you an idea of what I'm doing as we progress. So in this instance, as I've said, I have a taste for the finer things in life, so I'm going to click Start a New Game. The next screen shows if there are any mods available, and will invite you to click Next to create the world of the Academagia. Hit the small blue button at the bottom right of your screen, labeled 10 points remaining. Depending on what kind of computer you are using, this may take a few minutes, so be patient. Once it is done, you'll have a floating island nations and a massive magical school assembled and ready for you. Okay, let's begin. So now here I'm asked to enter in a first name, so I'm going to enter in the first name of Edward, and asks for a surname. I'm going to enter in Blackpool. You can of course enter in whatever name strikes your fancy. Next I'm going to go ahead and choose male, because as my name is Edward, I am a male student at the Academagia. Now I'm going to go down here to the bottom right, I'm going to click Next. And you see how in that next box it says points remaining, it has 10 in there. Here's where we're going to start to spend those points, and as you spend points you'll see the number decrease here in the bottom right button. So here you're presented with 7 characteristics. The base score, as you can see in each, is 1. At this stage in character creation, the highest you can take any of these attributes is 3. You can spend up to 5 points on this screen improving these scores, and any points you don't spend carry forward into buying backgrounds, which is the next section. If you're a veteran of other role-playing games, these numbers probably seem really low, but don't worry, they're primarily representative of bonuses to skill checks. If your score on an attribute is a 1, you can consider yourself relatively average. If it's a 3, you're pretty good. Some of your fellow students have attributes that may rise above this, but there aren't many of them, and those that do tend to pay for it in other ways across the board. Each attribute is better suited to some skills than others. If you have low intelligence and high strength, it'll take you a few days of training to improve your understanding of astronomy, but you'll be able to get it better at intimidation fast. If you switch the scores around, the ease of training switches as well. So let's go over some of these real quick. Fitness. You use this to increase your hardiness and durability, and this will determine how much damage you can take before you pass out. Finesse. You increase this to be graceful and agile. That determines how many items you can hide on yourself before an instructor notices. Charm. You increase this to be friendly, more beautiful or handsome, more charming. Luck. You use luck to increase your natural lucky streak. Increases your chance of having random events occur. Strength. You increase your strength to be strong and to be burly. This determines how much you can carry before an instructor notices you are struggling under the weight. Intelligence. You increase this to be clever and to be better at book learning. This is important for a lot of spell casting. And insight. You want to use this to be wise and intuitive. This can also be useful for many spells. It's also important for studies like astrology. So we're going to go ahead and assign some points, and then you'll see how many are remaining down here. I want a little bit of finesse. Intelligence sounds pretty good. Insight sounds good. I like the idea of being lucky, and I like the idea of being charming. So I'm going to go ahead and assign, and now again you can see down here I have 5 points remaining. If I try to increase, I can no longer do so, but I can always decrease and reassign if I feel like that. But I'm going to keep it as is, and I'm going to hit Next, and we're going to move on to the next section. 7 screens cover aspects of your character's life before the teenage years. Most background packages cost 1 point, the same as increasing an attribute. But there are a couple that cost 2, and 1 or 2 that actually give you a point. You can choose multiple backgrounds from any given section and choose no backgrounds at all from others. And again, you can always click back to remove unwanted choices to make room for more interesting ones. So let's go ahead and run through these right now. The first background section asks, where do you come from? The question is metaphysical as well as literal. You can assign your character astrological bonuses, you can specify a cultural heritage, and you can name fantastic and disturbing omens that were seen and felt throughout the lands at his or her birth. Note that some of these choices preclude other ones. The kid can't have been born both at dusk and at dawn without creative use of teleportation, and that kind of magic is illegal. So here I'm going to go ahead and scroll through this list. And I'm going to pick the Island Lights birth omen. And you can see here now I can scroll through the description here in this second column. And I can see here in the previous options that my option there is selected. If I want to deselect it, I simply click it again and it has been unselected. So if you want to go back and make any changes, just go ahead and find the item you've picked, click it, and you will deselect it. So here again, I'm going to select Omened Island Lights. I'm going to go ahead and hit Next. What was your family life like? Here you can specify unusual things about the family unit. Does your line have a legendary history? Was the character a black sheep, rich or poor? Here you can see in the bottom right I have 4 points remaining. But I'm going to pick the family black sheep option. And again, you can read the description. This one, however, you'll notice gives me back a point because really it's not good to be a black sheep with your family. So now I have an extra point to spend on the other options. So I'm going to go ahead and continue now, hitting the button in the bottom right. What sorts of things did you do? In this section, you can establish that your character had unusual aptitudes or was an outright prodigy in some fields. Also, if he or she had adventures right from the crib, here's the place to flag them. I want to have an aptitude for cooking, so I'm just going to select that option. Again, description, previous options, and hit Next. What kind of education did you have? Did the kid attend another academy before the Academagia? Was he or she an apprentice? Were there tutors? I'm going to go ahead and say that I was tutored in history. And we're going to continue. What sort of familiar do you have? This one requires a little bit of explanation. Powerful wizards attract sympathetic beings, usually, but not always, animals. If the wizard allows the being in question to stick around, it's affected by the magic. It becomes more human-like in intelligence, stronger, faster, and a whole lot else. In many cases, even its lifespan is radically extended. At the same time, it becomes more helpful to the wizard and more able to share its strengths. Both sides benefit. At this background stage, you can choose between one of 4 relatively common types of familiar. You can also choose to have an exotic breed. This can be anything from a turtle to a magical doll, but it'll be randomly selected for you, and you won't find out what it is until you arrive at the school, so our apologies. I'm feeling a little saucy, so I'm going to go ahead and pick Familiar Bond Exotic. And I'm going to hit Next. What have you packed? This background section concerns inheritances, items passed down through your family, even if you're a black sheep, that you can bring along with you at the start of the academic year. I'm going to go ahead and skip this one, actually. I don't really want to take anything with me. I'm going to hit Next again. And this is the last screen. Did anything noteworthy happen to you along the way? Your home, wherever it may be, is probably a long way from the school, and the trip from point A to point B may well have taken you months, particularly if freight airships were involved. As you traveled, you might have made discoveries or had adventures. Your familiar might have had adventures of its own or received special training. And of course, you might have met some of the people you'll be living with at the school for the next several months. And for the record, from here on in, there are no more places to spend points. You have a couple of sections still to go before you're totally committed to the choices you've made, but there's no reason to have any number above 0 in this little blue button in the bottom right. So you see I still have 2 options. This is the last screen. But, as we said at the start, you can select multiple options. So I'm going to scroll through this list, and I'm going to say that I have had some exploits in the city of Mineta, which is the city surrounding the Academagia. And I'm also going to go ahead and say that my familiar has had an escapade, the electrical storm. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit Next and finish the character creation process.